Hey there, welcome back to the Great Canadian Blueprint. I'm Ian, your guide through Canada's economic past, and today we're diving into a fun topic, tariffs. Specifically, the pivotal 1879 tariff debates that launched John A. Macdonald's national policy. Picture the House of Commons buzzing with fiery arguments. Macdonald pushing to protect Canadian industries, his rivals warning it'll jack up prices for everyday folks. Fast forward to 2025, and we're still debating the use of tariffs and their impact on everyday citizens. As a REMAX real estate agent from Hamilton, Ontario, I'm unpacking Canada's history and how our great country came to be what it is today. Let's dive in. It's March 1879, and Canada's economy is at a crossroads. John A. Macdonald, our first Prime Minister, is back in power after a Liberal stint. He's got a bold plan, the national policy. The star of the show, tariffs. Taxes on imported goods like textiles, machinery, and iron set at 10 to 30%. Finance Minister Sir Leonard Tilley lays it out in Parliament. These tariffs will shield Canada's young industries from cheap US imports. He's got hard numbers. In 1878, Canada imported $57 million in manufactured goods, mostly from the US, while exporting just $12 million. Without protection, local factories can't compete with American giants who are dumping goods at cut-rate prices. Tilley argues tariffs will create 20,000 manufacturing jobs, generating $10 million in annual revenue, and boost GDP by 5% a year. Macdonald doubles down, saying we must build up our own industries, or remain hewers of wood and drawers of water. But the opposition is not having it. Liberal leader Alexander Mackenzie fires back, calling the tariffs a burden on the poor. He argues they'll hike prices for essentials, things like tools, clothes, and farm equipment, hurting farmers and workers. Mackenzie pushes for lower revenue tariffs, around 5 to 10%, to fund the government without propping up industry. He warns of the US retaliation, which could hit Canada's $20 million in agricultural exports. He also points to Britain's free trade success, where low tariffs fueled growth. The debates rage, but on March 14, 1879, the national policy passes, locking in high tariffs and setting Canada on a protectionist path. The 1879 tariffs set the tone, but Canada's tariff story is a bit of a roller coaster. In 1911, a reciprocity agreement with the US aimed to slash tariffs, promising cheaper goods and more trade. But voters rejected it, fearing it would kill Canadian factories. Protectionism held firm. Then, in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, Prime Minister R.B. Bennett cranked tariffs to 50% on some goods, just to shield industries. But it backfired, tanking global trade and slowing real estate growth. Post-World War II, Canada pivoted to free trade. The 1965 Auto Pact cut tariffs on cars with the US, boosting Ontario's auto industry and sparking a suburban housing boom. Housing starts jumped 20% by 1970. The 1988 Canadian-US Free Trade Agreement and 1994's NAFTA slashed tariffs further, pushing trade to $400 billion by 2000. But free trade wasn't all rosy. It hammered sectors like textiles, closing factories in places like Hamilton. Now, let's take a look at 2025. In February of this year, the US slapped 25% tariffs on Canadian goods, citing drugs and immigration as national emergencies. Canada hit back in March with 25% tariffs on $30 billion of US goods, with a plan to escalate to $155 billion if the US doesn't back down. Auto tariffs kicked in during April, targeting non-Canada US-Mexico agreement compliant vehicles. Canada's offering relief, like the United States surtax remission order in April, waiving tariffs for some business until October. But the battle is still on. Economists are grim. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce predicts a 2.6% GDP drop. That's about $78 billion Canadian, or $1,900 per Canadian citizen yearly, if tariffs escalate. Ontario's GDP growth could slow to 0.6% in 2025, half the expected 1.7%, risking a recession. BC projects a $69 billion loss by 2028, with 124,000 jobs gone, hitting manufacturing and resources hard. Inflation is also a worry. Ontario CPI could rise by 0.2 or 0.3 points in the next year as import prices climb. Supply chains, especially autos, are creaking, with S&P Global noting forecast downgrades. Supply chains, especially autos, are creaking, with S&P Global noting forecast downgrades. That all said, there's still an upside. Tariffs could protect Canadian manufacturing like autos, with remission incentives boosting local production. Tariff revenues from $155 billion in goods could fund programs, and the government's deferring taxes to give businesses $40 billion in liquidity. TD Economics suggests diversifying trade, maybe an all-in-Canada manufacturing push at $2 billion, could cut US reliance long term. The downside's also heavy though. Higher prices will hit consumers. Think $7,000 more for a car or $200 extra for appliances. Job losses loom and investments could stall, with experts warning of long-term damage to sectors like autos. It's 1879 all over again. Do you protect industries or keep prices low? The debate's just as fierce. Macdonald's 1879 tariffs built Canada's industrial backbone, turning towns into cities and shaping real estate. Today, tariff wars with the GDP hits and price hikes test Canada's resilience. So what do you think? Are tariffs worth the pain to protect Canadian jobs, or should we push for free trade? Drop your thoughts below. Thanks for watching The Great Canadian Blueprint. Hit like and subscribe for our next dive into Canada's economic story.